Hello and welcome back to A Better World. This is your host Mitchell J. Rabin, and we're very glad that you're joining us again today. Today we're on location at the Shivananda Yoga Ashram Ranch up in Woodburn, New York. This is a very beautiful place. The atmosphere is rich in a sense of spirit, and there's a great sense of discipline here among all of the people who come and visit. People take mini yoga vacations, come up from New York, they come from all over actually, all over the world, and spend some time getting in touch with a deeper part of themselves. They come and learn the asanas of yoga, and they learn meditation and various forms of chanting. All of this enriches the spirit. The community is vivacious and vibrant. People enjoy themselves tremendously and learn a lot about their spiritual lives, something that many people haven't spent a lot of time doing in general. They can do it here in a rather short period of time, get in touch with a deeper and even higher part of themselves that can help to enrich their lives from the time they come here and on. So I'm very pleased to be covering this and sharing it all with you, the audience. And now we're very pleased to be seated with Swami Padma, who provides tremendous spiritual guidance here at the Yoga Center up in Woodburn. He's been involved with the Shivananda Yoga Centers for over 25 years and has a tremendous amount of experience in working with his own self through his own meditation and yogic practice, as well as being counsel for many people along the path. So thanks so much for joining us.
You're welcome, Mitchell.
It's a pleasure. I've been just enjoying your way here, Swamiji, so much, the way you conduct the satsangs and share with us thoughts and feelings of your own in conjunction with that of Vedanta. It's very rich for me, and I know for other people who are here. Thank you. Would you just share with us a little bit how it is you first came in touch with yoga?
Oh, sure. My father, my biological father, was having classes in our house in Johannesburg, South Africa, where I grew up in the early 60s.
That's unusual.
Yeah, and it was totally, it was a very good thing for him, but I hated it because they have their class at 7 o'clock on Saturday morning, and that woke me up. And so later on, when I grew up and underwent a lot of pressure, a lot of stress and anxiety, I approached his teacher and I said, I'd like to start. And he was very overwhelmed with joy, and he said, great, come to my house on Monday evening at 5:45, and that's how. And after that very first class, I knew that this was my path. I'm going to stick to this.
How old were you?
I was 24 years old.
Such resolution of mind.
Yeah. Well,
that's unusual.
Tried everything else, so I thought, by exhaustion, proved by exhaustion.
Right.
So I knew I had to stick to something. So
it's interesting. But
I loved it. I think that's also the main thing. I loved it. I started to go for meditation and everything, and I read books. I just got involved.
You devoured it.
I devoured it.
Yeah.
You
became devoted through devouring.
Like Jaws, yes.
Yes, right. And so here you are today, a Swami in the Shivananda tradition.
Right.
Yeah, it's wonderful. What is the process of becoming a Swami? Could you describe that? Many people, see people donning orange robes and they hear the word sannyasin, they don't necessarily know what it means.
Traditionally, you study with a Swami, with a master, and it's supposed to be 12 years in the tradition. And then the teacher might recommend you to do it. It can also come from yourself. In the West, it's been cut short because this is like the instant coffee society. So
no one has 12 years to spend waiting.
Right. So it might take a few years. You work with your teacher, with your Swami, and again the same thing. They might recommend you to do it, And you might want to do it from, things coming up inside. You have a calling, and the calling is strong enough. You want to, you don't have any interest in the world, so, and you're able to control your desires. So you approach the teacher and you say, this is what I want to do. And he might say no, and he might say yes. And with me it was okay. It was 10 of us at the time did it all together.
And this was with Swami Vishnu Devananda?
Swami Vishnu Devananda at our headquarters in Canada.
And how long ago was that?
It was exactly 20 years ago.
Isn't that interesting? And so does that require a level of renunciation of the world as such?
Yes. There's a ceremony that you undergo in which you actually dip into the water with your 2 hands up in the air, 2 arms up in the air, and you renounce the 3 worlds, the pleasures of the 3 worlds, this physical world that we live in, the heavenly worlds and the astral planes also. So all worlds, and you renounce all the pleasures of the world symbolically. And there's a sacrificial, there's a fire that you put things in the fire in a normal, traditional way.
Yes, and you burn them.
And they also cut a chunk of your hair that you also renounce your body. You burn your body. And so you basically, symbolically, you've not cut ties with the world, but you no longer have attachment to the world. It's a very beautiful ceremony. At
least symbolically. I mean, everyone as a human being has attachments, but it's a commitment, I sense, Swami, that to have a certain detachment, no matter what, that you strive for that. It's powerful kind of declaration.
It's a commitment for not only life, for this life, but for all lives. You said, I quit. I quit.
You join up. You join up in another way, right? Could you share with our audience, Swamiji, a little bit about the nature of Vedanta, since it's Vedanta that underlies the Shivananda ashrams?
Right. What we teaching and practicing, of course, is what's called Advaita Vedanta, which means non-dualistic theory of oneness. All religions practice and preach, teach that there's only one God. Vedanta is going a little bit further and saying, well, that's true, but not only that, we are that God. We are that divinity. That divinity is you and everything. And the world is a kind of a dream. That's the easiest way to understand it. The world is a dream, and we're dreaming. We're part of this dream. And when we have enlightenment, we wake up from that dream. In the meantime, we're caught in what's called Maya, which is an illusory world of ups and downs and pain and suffering and pleasures. And we have
attachments.
Attachments. So we're trying to raise the consciousness to go beyond that duality. And if we can transcend that duality, we then are in a higher state of consciousness, of awareness, and experience that oneness.
Right, of unity consciousness, you could say, right.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Very powerful.
A nice analogy is of the river. You know, rivers have names and forms, and they're all running to the ocean. But when they join the ocean, they lose their names and forms, and they become one with the ocean. That's Vedanta.
So in a sense, sure, one loses one's own ego. One's own definition of self.
And individuality, sense of individuality.
Mm-hmm. It's a remarkable state. What is it like?
You're being presumptuous.
We've all walked into it and walked out. But Yeah, but it's a noble striving, Swamiji. It sure is. It sure is. What then is enlightenment? I know it's that sense of complete entering the ocean, as it were. But I guess perhaps I'm asking, how many people do you know, have you known, that have actually been able to complete that level of attainment?
I've been very fortunate that I have met quite a few. And I felt in my heart that this particular person really knows. My own teacher, my own guru, Swami Vishnudevananda is one of them. Worked with him 19 years. And a few other disciples of Swami Shivananda, direct disciples, and a couple of others. So I've been very blessed.
Truly,
yeah.
Truly. It's a whole vibrational field, is it not? It's an entire...
It is, yeah.
Wow.
And to be in their presence is the highest experience in life, is to be with them, to just sit with them.
Yes. And you are, in a sense, imbuing that field, you know, and it's no doubt touching that part of your own nature, that highest part of yourself, which... Right. Well, I want to say, in closing, that your presence here is making a difference in a lot of people's lives, and I feel that you're really touching many. So...
Hope so.
Yes, indeed. I mean, let's think of it. People come up from New York, living very often hectic urban life, and they get away to the Catskills, and they come up to your yoga ranch for sometimes a day or 2 days or 3 or 4 days, and there's some radical shifting that needs to take place, and I feel that...
Definitely does take place.
Yeah. You're witness to that, huh?
You come for 1 weekend and go back home, change beings.
You're really doing a lot of
contribute here.
Good work. Yes, indeed.
Lakshmi,
all
the staff
is
been here a long time.
Sure.
Everybody contributes.
It's a great commitment.
Right.
So thank you.
You're welcome.
We are now seated with one of the yoga instructors here and one of the staff members, Lolita, originally from Holland, who's been involved with Shivananda actually just about a year. And it's been quite life-transforming for her, so she's been kind enough to come on and speak to us a little bit about that. Welcome, Lolita.
Well, thank you.
Yes, good to have you. Tell us first about what your impressions of yoga were. They seemed like they were kind of different than they are now. And how is it that you got involved yourself?
Well, I first became involved because things weren't quite going the way I wanted to in my life. So I decided to take up yoga. But I also had this view of yoga that it was for elderly people and for pregnant women, things like that. So I never really came to take the plunge. But then
it was more for, let's say, exercise rather than for spiritual growth.
Exactly, yeah. So then I decided to take a class, and I liked it so much, and it changed a lot of things in my life. You know,
what is it that you saw show up different?
I saw a lot of things that happened in a yoga class, you know, that related to everyday life, you know, thought patterns that you have. And as I changed the thoughts and the attitudes towards things, my life around myself seemed to change too, quite quickly.
Well, and the yoga was sort of the pivot for that kind of change?
I think so. I think I was ready for it. So, and then I got involved with a Shivananda organization, and I decided to become a resident and to join staff, so for a while.
Well, you went to India.
I did a teacher's training course in India, and then I stayed on as staff in Delhi for a little while, and then I came here. I've been here for about 4 or 5 months.
God, isn't that something? What's your experience of it here?
It's wonderful. I like it very much. It's beautiful to be outside, be in nature. You know, it's a wonderful experience. It's very been very good for me to work with different people, sometimes people that you normally wouldn't work with or you wouldn't choose to work with, but it's it just, whatever you need to learn, you know, whatever lesson you need to learn, you will come up against.
That's part of the path.
Yeah.
Is the point, right?
Yeah.
It's part of the path.
I think so.
Yeah. So what's next after this?
I'll be going back to London in a few weeks, and we'll see where my life takes me.
Yes, indeed. And yet your relationship with yoga, will that be a constant for you?
I think so, yes. I'd like it to be. I think it has changed my life, and I think it's a wonderful, wonderful way to live, the way people live here, and I'd like it to be part of my life.
And what is it that you see when people come from the moment they arrive to the moment that they leave? How would you characterize the changes that you've witnessed? Sometimes
when people first come here, there's some resistance against maybe the discipline, or that they have to get up at this time, that they, you know, are expected to do a little bit of karma yoga or to help out a little bit here. Just the way things are set up. And, you know, maybe in a yoga class also there's, you know, resistance against things, and people loosen up as they
loosen up, they soften, they become more flexible.
Yeah.
Just as yoga asanas are designed to create.
Exactly, yeah. People become more flexible in class, they're, you know, more comfortable with things that happen in an asana class, but also in the whole, you know, the whole setup of the ashram. You see people becoming more flexible.
It's very good. Flexibility is the key to health, I believe. Well, thank you very much for joining us and
You're welcome.
Sharing your experience with us. Now we're seated with Surya San Miguel, originally from Spain, who lives in Spain and has often lived in Canada, has been part of the Sivananda Ashram for quite some time. She'll be sharing with us some of her experiences. Thanks for coming on to the show.
You're welcome.
Now, you, in terms of your spiritual life, Surya, have been involved in Buddhism. Is that correct?
Yes, in Zen Buddhism.
Yeah. And now actually Tibetan.
Yes, it's true. Also the Vajrayana tradition.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, what is the relationship of your being involved with Shivananda Ashram with that?
Well, it started about 10 years ago when I first went to the ashram in Canada, and I was looking for learning how to do hatha yoga, taking care of my body, and also I was concerned about the diet. I wanted to stick to a vegetarian diet, and so I went there to spend a summer, and then I liked it so much that I kept going.
You haven't been the same since.
That's right. Yes, I keep coming every year. Right. Yeah.
And so, what you got here was more having to take care of the physical body as well as the Vedanta philosophy, I'm sure.
Yes. Then I discovered that Vedanta philosophy is not that different from Buddhist philosophy. So there was no conflict there.
Yes. Well, sort of like there are many paths, but one goal.
That's right, yes. Yeah. Actually, that's what Master Shivananda used to say. Paths of many are many, but the truth is one. And this is the truth.
Yes, that's the truth. That's right, absolutely. What do you feel has been the main experience or gift that you've received from being connected to the Shivananda teachings?
Yes. Well, it has helped me to relax a lot. In my practice and also in everyday life.
That's one of the 5 points of yoga, correct?
That's right, yes. And it's not that easy. I mean, so that has helped me a lot. And also the asanas. I mean, the hatha yoga, the physical part. I became a teacher, and I've been teaching, so I've been passing on yoga to other people, so that has been very important for me. Yes.
Sure, absolutely. That's the service part.
That's right. Yes.
Karma yoga,
yeah,
which is
giving back.
Essential. When you recognize that you're one with everything, you want to keep giving to right. Others are I and thou are one and the same, right?
That's right.
Sure.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
We are now seated with Lakshmi, who is married to Srinivasan and is one of the directors of this ashram. She's behind the scenes, making sure everything goes smoothly and well for all the people who come here to meditate and learn about the spiritual disciplines here. So thanks so much for coming onto the show.
Thank you, Mitch.
Absolutely. So what is it like to be here all the time? I mean, you've been here for many years now, right?
Yes, like we came here 5 years ago, but before we were at the ashram in Canada, at the headquarters, which was much bigger. Here it's smaller, but it's beautiful. The nature is very powerful, and everybody who comes here can really relate and feel the power of the nature.
Yes.
And the openness of the place, because it's up in the mountain, and you can feel your heart and your whole being expanding when you're here.
How is it that you first got involved with Shivananda and yoga?
But I started when I was in Paris. I'm from France, and I was working and starting to go to a sports center where I started practicing yoga. And then being very interested and wanted to practice more, and so I went to I looked for a yoga center who had a lot of different classes and different hours, and my life turned at this point. I wanted to travel to India and change, and then I went to the Shivananda Center, and there I met Srinivasan. And
in India?
No, in Paris.
Oh, in Paris,
I was directing the center in Paris.
Oh, I see.
And then we connected, and we felt like right away that we were meant to be together.
Wow.
And myself, I was very against marriage and married life, but then was no doubt anymore. And a few months later, we were married, and then I took the teacher's training course in Canada, and then joined staff, and since then.
Alors, mon Dieu, that's really something. That's a very quick turnaround.
Yeah, but it was like a 2 years process when my life started changing. I had enough of going out, parties and traveling and doing things with friends. I mean, everything you can do in Paris.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And then I found an emptiness there. And
yes.
I found that then I started reading books and going deeper and deeper into the spiritual life, and it was like everything guides you towards something, and then
yes.
you go and you continue.
God, yeah. And now you have a daughter,
yes,
who has taken TTC.
Yes, Shivakami was born when we were in Los Angeles. We were running the center there in California. She was born there, so she was since the beginning. She's part of the organization, and part of the spiritual life. And then she's around, people who are seeking and.
God, it's so interesting to be born into such a thing in this day and age.
Yes.
That life has become so secularized in this country and actually elsewhere in so many ways. To be born right into a spiritual context, as it were, is quite an opportunity.
It's very strong in her. I mean, she's looking outside and having friends, but you can feel that inside she has really this strength and the spirit in her, which is wonderful.
Yeah. And just one last question now, Lakshmi, is you see so many people come and go. New Yorkers, Parisians, Israelis, Russians, people from all over the world. It's such a lovely mix here. It's really wonderful. What is it that you observe in the people? What is it that you see?
I see a lot of loneliness. People are a lot of suffering, mental suffering, and people who are really looking for something else that they don't find in the material world, in the society. But I found people very lonely, and when they come here, they find the friendship and the love of people around, and then it's like they really start and want to go
deeper. What would the percentage of people who come in that state you're referring to and sense what's going on and decide to continue on?
I think a lot of people, they may not decide right away, but it's like you're planting a little seed, and then it's going to be there in their heart. And even a lot of people come and they are not ready yet for it. It's too much, but it's there. And then at one point in their life, maybe in a year, maybe in 5 or 10 years or 20 years, the seed is going to explode and come. Then at this point,
they knock on your door.
But they or they go. They will, find,
or elsewhere.
Yes, yeah, oh yeah. No.
Point is that there's a spiritual kernel that has been ripening.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's beautiful. It's really very beautiful work you're doing, and
thank you.
We, at A Better World, do appreciate it because you're really helping to make the whole world really a better place. And thank you for you and Shri's commitment.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste.
All creation is an organic whole. No man is independent of that whole. Man makes himself miserable by separating himself.
Saraswati Namaha. Om Aim Saraswati Namaha. Om Aim Saraswati Namaha.